Geographic Society for this incredible honor. Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to bring quite a few of my friends here with me today. Quite wonderful. So, dear friends, today we are gathered here almost 100 years after the death of Ernest Shackleton to pay tribute once again to him and to what I would like to call tonight the Shackleton spirit. Now, those who follow his life, who study his courageous and his bold leadership, everybody would choose a different characteristic of Ernest Shackleton, but I have chosen two that I would like to share with you. First, his commitment to his men. And second, his undaunted determination to fulfill the task at hand. Let me speak to each of these. His commitment to his men. You know the story. Today, I would say that commitment that he showed to his men translates into a commitment that we all have to the teams that work with us. To understand, and when I say the teams, I mean it in the broadest sense. It's not just the 2 or 3, or in my case, the 500 people who work with me directly on the Paris Agreement. It is the team in the broadest sense, as broad as humanity, because we are all members of the same team. And it is a reminder that we are truly powerless if we walk and work alone, but we are very strong if we do so together. It is a reminder that radical collaboration is the only way forward, particularly when you have complex tasks at hand. And it is a reminder that success is never the product of one person. It is always the product of a very broad team. That is why I am particularly grateful to the Royal Scottish Geographic Society for awarding all 3 of us with this medal. Because Manuel Pulgar Vidal was the president of COP20 in Lima, Peru, Laurent Fabius was the president of COP21 in Paris, and then myself having the honor to serve both of them. But I know that the medal goes to 3 people who represent the much broader team that brought Paris together, and who, in fact, goes out to millions of people. And I share with you that the most moving moment of Paris was actually 2 days before Paris started, when the religious community invited me to their celebration to receive the pilgrims that had walked from every continent to Paris asking for an ambitious agreement, and they gave me a scroll with 1.8 million signatures of people who wanted an ambitious agreement. So when I say that we work in radical collaboration with everyone, and when I say that success is always the product of a team, that is the kind of a team that I am talking about. The second component of the Shackleton spirit that I wanted to share with you today is his determination to achieve the task at hand. Well, every task has barriers. If you have a task before you that doesn't have barriers, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not a task. By definition, every task will have barriers. And as Shackleton himself said, barriers are not impediments. They're actually the opportunities to strengthen our resolve, to awaken ingenuity, and to evoke intentionality in yourself and in everyone else who's involved in that task. I call it stubborn optimism. Why do I call it stubborn optimism? Well, for the meaning of both words. First, because you have to be stubborn. Because you will always find one barrier, you will conquer it, and the next barrier will come. And you have to be stubborn and know that the task needs to be accomplished no matter how many barriers. And if you have to go on top, underneath, to the right, to the left, or in between, you do so. because the task needs to be accomplished. That's where the stubbornness comes in. And the optimism comes in from the very, very deep knowledge that we can achieve the tasks that humanity has set for itself. Climate change being perhaps the most difficult and yet the most deserving of our efforts. So, do we actually have any data points to feed our optimism on climate change? Well, actually, I wake up every morning and I read first about the barriers on climate change. You read the same news, so I don't have to share that. But I also read all of the good news on climate change. And it is astonishing what is happening around the world. So let me just give you a very, very little flavor. We used to think that we were condemned to always using coal as the main source of electricity around the world. Is that true today? Not so. Not so. We have countries that include the very unlikely candidates of the United States, Australia, China, and India closing coal plants. Why? Because coal is no longer competitive. Because renewable energies are now not only much better for all of us, but they're actually cheaper. And that is why the forces of the market are helping us to eliminate coal from the global energy matrix. And you will be happy to know that we already have 23.7% of the electricity around the world is already renewable energy, and we are well on track to get to 30% by 2020 and to 80% by 2050, which is exactly where we should be. Another cause for optimism, internal combustion engine. Well, will you join me in inaugurating the museum to the internal combustion engine, because we are well on track to put that wonderful motor that has given us a lot of development, but it is historic, and it shall go into a museum. And you all know the data. We have an increasing number of European countries that have already said they are not going to allow the sale of electric vehicles beyond 2040. France, UK, and of course Scotland saying the same, but with more ambition for 2032. And do you know that India has already said that they are aspiring to 100% sales of new cars, electric vehicles by 2030, and China has decided that they will soon publish, they're doing the assessment, they will soon publish the date as of which they are going to prohibit the sale of any internal combustion engine. And we have company after company, Jaguar and Rover, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, and today, the fantastic announcement that General Motors has decided they better get on with it also, and they are going on to electric vehicles, the first car manufacturer in the United States, perhaps because they noticed that Tesla is already much more valued company than General Motors, and they decided they better join the 21st century. So my friends, electric vehicles are the future, and the internal combustion engine will go into the museum. Do let me know if you would like an invitation to the inauguration of the museum. Now, we used to think that flight would also always have to depend on fossil fuels, right? Right. We already have solar impulse plane, admittedly only for one person, but completely solar that went around the world. I mean, can you imagine to go around the world only on solar energy? Yes, it is only a small step forward, but that's the way that we begin to bring down the barriers of thought, because the barriers to impossibility are always in our thinking, nowhere else. And inspired by my good friend here, we also used to think that maritime transportation would be condemned to bunkers forever. Not so, because wonderful friend here, Yoshoka, is building an eco-ship that is going to be the most ecologically designed ship, will be on the waters in 2020, and will use a family fuels, avoiding solar, wind, and biofuels, avoiding the use of fossil fuels. So one by one, each of these sectors, we are moving them forward into the 21st century, into a completely different reality to what we had before in the last century. Now, we're here certainly to pay tribute to leaders of the past, but I think we also have to think, as we walk in his footsteps, it is perhaps even more important to pay tribute to leaders of the future. And today, the 7 most important people in this room are the 7, where are you? The 7 young leaders, please do come up. The 7 young leaders. So these are the 7 young leaders from Pacific and Caribbean low-lying states. You will understand how fragile their home is with climate change. So, my dear friends, if you will forgive me, I will now address them. So, if I can contain my tears. So, my friends, I would like to invite you tonight to remember this beautiful evening here. And invite you to consider to live your lives according to the Shackleton spirit. First, I invite you to remember that you cannot change the world on your own. That you cannot change the world by force or by blame. That if you are going to change the world, and I know all of you want to do so, then you have to change the world by working with other people, not against other people. You have to change the world by understanding other people, their interests, their needs, not blaming them for what they have done in the past. And may you remember that you came to this beautiful hall on the peace boat, not on the war boat, not on the guilt boat, not on the blame boat. You came on the peace boat. You have a privileged voice, each of you, certainly because of where you come from, but perhaps even more importantly because of who you are as individuals. So may you use that voice to inspire the transformation that we so urgently need. That's one part of the Shackleton spirit. Then there's the other part of the Shackleton spirit. So may I invite you, paying tribute to Ernest Shackleton and his determination to be true participants and true practitioners of stubborn optimism. Now, you may know that Shackleton left his men on Elephant Island and promised them that he would do anything and everything that was necessary to come back and ensure their survival. The tales of how he conquered all the setbacks are unequaled in the history of exploration. You all, my friends, have family and friends on each of your islands. Now, the world will tell you that the feat of guaranteeing survival for everyone on your island is impossible. I tell you, never give up. Never give up. Shackleton lived in the heroic age of Antarctic exploration, when we, as humankind, were still exploring the boundaries of where men and women could go. Today, we have gone way beyond those boundaries. Today, in fact, we have gone beyond planetary boundaries. And today, I would say, not only because we have gone beyond the planetary boundaries, but because we have destroyed the global commons. Today, we are in a heroic age of the recovery of the global commons. Now, my friends, you did not ask for that role when you were born, but now you have it. You are the heroes of this heroic age of the recovery of the global commons. may you walk in the spirit of Shackleton and remember his legacy.